Running a marathon is a very special, I don't want to even call it a sport. It's a pleasure in life that I am so lucky to be part of because it it gives me a purpose to be strong mentally. It gives me a purpose to have discipline. Marathon training, it's a way of life for 3 to 4 months. And it just keeps me going to be a happy person, to be joyful, to have something to look forward to. And then when it's over, you can look back and feel I had the strength to do that. And now I have the strength to do other challenges in my life that face me.
Women's running. Women's running stories.
So my name is Patty Hung. I live in Orinda, California, and I am 77 years old, and I will be running the Boston Marathon for the 37th consecutive time.
Yes, you heard right. When Patty crosses the Boston Marathon finish line this year, she will have completed 37 consecutive Boston Marathons, and that will reset the women's streak record. Patty will have run more consecutive Bostons than any other woman in the history of the Boston Marathon, breaking the record set by Andrea Hatch, who ended her streak back in 2013. And we're going to get into Patty's story in just a minute. But first, welcome to Women's Running Stories. I am Cherie Louise Turner. I am your host and producer. And this podcast is a proud member of the Evergreen Network of Podcasts. Before we get into Patty's story, I do want to remind you that coming up this weekend, Marathon Weekend on Sunday, April 16th at 1 p.m. on the live stage at the Boston Marathon Expo, I will be co-hosting a panel discussion with my two friends, Julie and Lisa, who are co-hosts of the Run Farther and Faster podcast. And we will be in conversation with 3 podium pioneers from the Boston Marathon. It's Marilyn Bevans, Patty Dillon, and Jacqueline Hansen. All 3 of these women were some of the best marathoners in the world back in the 1970s. Each one of them has stood atop the podium at the Boston Marathon, and they have each broken barriers. And we're going to get to chat with them. So I do hope you join us. It is free and open to the public. You can be a runner, you can be a fan, you can just be interested to hear from incredible women who were pushing the boundaries of running at the time when women were finally allowed to race this distance. They are incredible and they have great stories to tell, so please come join us. Now on to the story at hand. If you have been a listener to Women's Running Stories, which used to be called Strides Forward, you will remember that we did our Roads to Boston series leading up to the October 2021 Boston Marathon. We told the running stories of 9 women all the way up through running the Boston Marathon that year, and Patty Hung was one of them. So if her name sounds familiar, that is why, and we are updating her story and giving her her own episode in honor of this historic event. Whether or not you have listened to our Roads to Boston series, you'll want to stick around and have a listen. Patty's story is uplifting and inspirational, and she shares some wisdom about what 37 plus years of running marathons has brought to her life and why she's still going strong. A few things to know about Patty, or to be reminded about Patty, is that she is a retired school teacher and she taught at Miramonte High School in Northern California. And after that, she went back to nursing school and she now works as a pediatric nurse at the UCSF Beniat Children's Hospital in Oakland. Now on to this record-breaking streak that Patty has been on for 37 years now. It's worth noting that up until about 5 years ago, she didn't even realize that she was on track to make history here.
I never had that desire to beat a record. It was really, it goes back always to my family. But to make a mark like running the longest number streak, it's not so important to me that I have done this, but it's important to me to keep on running. I just don't think much about the streak. I think about it because people always mention it to me. But at work, they're always asking me, the nurses, the doctors, the patients, the families, people around my neighborhood, they see me and they say, go Boston, go Boston. But the next question they all say is, are you going to continue running? And I'm thinking to myself, what a silly question. Just because I've done the streak, I'm going to stop? No, I'm going to just keep it going as long as my body allows me to, in my mind.
To have a full understanding of what has kept Patty in this sport for so long and coming back year after year after year to run the marathon, we're going to go back all the way to Patty's first experiences with sports.
I was not a real qualified athlete when I was growing up. I grew up in Boston. I went to a parochial girls' high school. The only sport that we had was basketball. So I didn't really join any club sports. I started running when I was probably in my late 30s. And one day I was living in Oakland at the time, and I was sitting around a beautiful Lake Merritt in Oakland, and I was watching these people run past me, and the lake is about 3 miles around, and I did have some kind of athletic shoes on, and I said, you know what, I think I'm going to try this. So I got up, started running, ran around the lake, and I'm going to cry because I've never stopped running since then. So I just really loved it. And then I got into the 10K races and really like that. And I was doing pretty well, not really much of a star, but kind of always having a goal to beat my own record. And that was kind of cool. So I then started thinking about, well, maybe I could go a little bit further than a 10K and go into a 13-mile run. And then I had a situation in my life where I got divorced, and my life was pretty much in disarray. I wanted a purpose in my life so I could help my own psyche get through the challenges of being a mom with 3 young children, no husband, and I was teaching at the time, and I wanted something that would challenge me to be strong in my mind and have a purpose. And I decided I'm going to run the Boston Marathon. And living and growing up in Boston, it was something that I thought that will help me get through my challenges in life. And I thought, okay, this is it. This is your time, Patty. And so my challenge was, I have to qualify. So there I started thinking very seriously, okay, I'm gonna do the California International Marathon, and I'm gonna get into Boston. So I did. I had to run a 3-hour 20 marathon, and I did it. And it was like a miracle because I bettered my marathon by about a half hour. And I was in. It was the most glorious thing. I'm from Polish background, and all my family's from Boston. My mom was one of 7 children. I have my cousins, my aunts, my uncles. My mom's family was all there, and I wanted to run not only for myself in all my challenges that were happening, but I wanted to run for them. I wanted to go back to Boston and say to them, listen, I'm going to do this year, and I'm going to try to do it every year so we can connect, and maybe some of you will run in the Boston Marathon with me. And that also happened. So as the years started, my cousin Jackie started running, and he got into Boston through a charity organization, through the leukemia organization. And then as his family started growing up, his daughter started running with me, and my sons started running with me. And then people who were my family were all now running with me in Boston. And then it just kept escalating to be a big family thing. And then when I was teaching at Miramani High School, a few of my students started running Boston. And of course, I had all these Boston Marathon bibs on my walls in my classroom, and that inspired a lot of kids, seeing, oh my gosh, we're in the track, we're in cross country, maybe we could do that.
Hi, I'm Christina Yerling Biro, host of the podcast Pop Culture Confidential. Join me as I go way behind the scenes with some of the most influential people in entertainment and media. Hear actors such as Succession's Brian Cox talk about his favorite characters to play.
There always has to be a mystery. The audience have to be in a situation where they want to know what's going on.
Meet studio execs like Pixar chief Pete Docter and learn his secret on how he makes us cry.
Emotion is our first language.
And so many others who are defining popular culture, from Obama speechwriter David Litt to Top Chef host Padma Lakshmi.
We don't often think about food politically, or we don't want to, but it really is.
Join me. Search for Pop Culture Confidential wherever you get your podcasts.
And what keeps me coming back is my family. I get kind of choked up because they're the best. And I had these aunts that were like my second moms. I had 3 special aunts who would come to the marathon, and to the point where we were wheeling a couple of them in wheelchairs. They would always meet me at mile 13 or on the top of Heartbreak Hill, just howling and just cheering me on. And much of my family, my aunts and uncles have passed away, but my cousins are all there for me. My sons are there for me, and they are now my coaches. They make me feel that I still can do this.
Patty has had that unwavering support of her family, and she's developed a rock-solid discipline over the years. She's also had the great fortune of never having a running injury. I know, it's pretty incredible. But over the course of these 3.5+ decades, Patty has had a couple of occasions where keeping this streak alive became extra challenging.
Yes, I had 2 experiences. One, when I had some gastroenteritis issue, some kind of viral flu, or I don't know what it was, but I was sick the night before the marathon. And my aunt was also a nurse, and she was just taking care of me like a baby. And I woke up that morning with nothing in my stomach, feeling not so great, but I could walk. And so I said, I'm going to do this, Auntie Rose. I'm going to do this. And then there was another time when I was a month and a half away from the race, and I fell and opened my knee. I had about 14 stitches in my knee. And I thought, oh man, this is not going to stop me. It is not going to stop me. So I took about 2 weeks off and just got back on the road and started walking fast and a little bit of jogging and then a little bit more running, and I was able to run the race. So that was another time when I thought, this is pretty tricky. But people who run and have stopped running will say, "Oh, my knees gave out. Oh, my calves or this or that, my back, blah blah blah." I I don't have those issues. I am so lucky. I am so lucky. I have the genes in my legs that bring me through this race every year. So that's been a wonderful, wonderful thing. I mean, of course, physically, you have to have the healthy body to run pavement up on the trail, to keep your body going. A lot of it is mental. I think eating healthy is important, exercising in other ways. I do a lot of hiking, of course, with the dogs. That has brought me to another level of exercise that I didn't do before I had the dogs. So after I work, I'm a night shift nurse. And when I come home, I've got these two dogs looking at me saying, you're home, let's go out. And I'm thinking, I just worked 8 hours. But I get out there, I drink my coffee and get out there with them on the trail, and they run and they make me feel so happy. And then we all go to sleep after that. But sleep is important. Also, I want to remind you and myself, I get a lot of good sleep. And sleep has really taken care of me during these older years of my life. What do we say? The ADLs, right? Activities of daily living have kept me going. Good, healthy ADLs. And although I have the energy to continue running, the stamina, I just don't run the pace that I did. I'm running much slower. I can feel it on my track workouts, definitely on my long runs. So the thing that has changed is the pace, but not I feel very strong. I never question, oh, I can't do this anymore. I never questioned that. Never. It was always, I got this. And again, when you have family out there, you're not just running for yourself, you're running for them. And I've got 4 or 5, 6 people at the end of the race, as many other people, runners do, waiting for me to cheer me on and to congratulate me, and I'm not going to let them down.
As much as the marathon is a solo adventure, it is rarely something we do truly alone. And in the end, it is rarely only about running.
The purpose of running the Boston Marathon was no longer to just run the marathon, but it was to have a purpose in life. It was having the discipline of this challenge every year. It was the purpose of being with my family and sharing all of this excitement with my family. So all of that made me want to do it again and again and again. And here I am at 37.
Here I am at 37. I mean, it is absolutely incredible. Patty, we are so excited to cheer you on this year and for as many years as you decide to come back and run the Boston Marathon. And I want to thank Patty once again for coming on the show. She has been so generous with her time and sharing her story. Thank you so much, Patty. And that does bring us to the end of our episode. Thank you so much for being here. I always appreciate you coming and listening. And I also appreciate you sharing the show. If you know someone else who you think might enjoy this show, I would really appreciate it if you shared it with them. And also if you subscribe, and please come back. I also welcome you to join us at the Expo event. Again, it is Sunday, April 16th at 1 p.m. on the live stage at the Boston Marathon Expo. It's going to be a great panel. And in fact, all the panels that day are really outstanding. So if you can make the time, I would encourage you to come for all the live panels that day. If you are running Boston, I wish you the best of luck. Please enjoy the crowds. Have a great time. I hope you run well, but more than anything, I just hope you enjoy yourself. If you will be there cheering people on, thank you so much. Your cheers are what make the Boston Marathon so incredibly special. And that will do it for me. Until next time, I am Cherie Louise Turner, wishing you healthy, happy strides forward. Women's running. Women's running stories.
Hi, I'm Christina Yerling-Biro, host of the podcast Pop Culture Confidential. Join me as I go way behind the scenes with some of the most influential people in entertainment and media. Hear actors such as Succession's Brian Cox talk about his favorite characters to play.
There always has to be a mystery. The audience have to be in a situation where they want to know what's going on.
Meet studio execs like Pixar chief Pete Docter and learn his secret on how he makes us cry.
Emotion is our first language.
And so many others who are defining popular culture, from Obama speechwriter David Litt to Top Chef host Padma Lakshmi.
We don't often think about food politically, or we don't want to, but it really is.
Join me. Search for Pop Culture Confidential wherever you get your podcasts.